The Mennonites had been persecuted for as long as they could remember. Descended from the Anabaptist branch of the Protestant Reformation, the Mennonites' faith had put them at odds with many of the countries in which they settled.
Among their beliefs, the doctrine of nonviolence proved especially problematic, as many countries at the time engaged in forced military conscription.
This pacifism had prompted, according to David Weeb, a biographer of the Mennonites, migrations for conscience sake since Anabaptist time.
When, in 1763, Tsarina Catherine the Great of Russia established a law promising exemption from military service and the preservation of their local autonomy, many Mennonites settled in Russia,
where they lived relatively undisturbed lives. However, the freedoms they enjoyed were promptly quenched in 1870 by another king, Tsar Alexander. The Mennonites were forced to choose again, remain in Russia and face possible forced military conscription, or migrate across the world.
For the sake of brevity, we'll just say that the Mennonites did both.
Some moved across the seas to North America. Many more stayed closer to home in Russia, the Ukraine, or Siberia.
But their peaceful existence was not to continue for long. When uprisings escalated in 1917, in a Russia already devastated by World War I, Mennonites were labeled as targets for Soviet aggression.
As a famine took toll, the Mennonites were desperate. Letters began reaching their American brothers. If you can't help us, we will die of starvation. Enter M.B. Fast. Martin B. Fast was not one of the helpless sufferers in faraway Russia, but a middle-aged American citizen, a local leader in the Crimean Mennonite Brethren denomination, who received a desperate letter pleading for aid at his home in Reedley, California.
Fast was born on January 6, 1858 in South Russia.
But he migrated to the U.S. at the age of 19 with his family. Once there, he became the editor of several German-language newspapers
and wrote several memoirs of his journeys back to Russia.
Many Mennonites, like Fast, received the call for aid, but Russia was shrouded in mystery.
The Mennonite Central Committee, or MCC, would be launched in 1920 to organize relief efforts in Russia.
Yet the famine in Russia wasn't going to wait for American Mennonites to gather the facts, establish an organization, raise support, and convince the chaotic Russian government to let them enter.
And so, in 1919, when M.B. Fast received a plea from Siberia begging for clothing, he did not wait for a committee to oversee his mission.
Instead, he promptly sailed to Russia himself to aid the suffering.
Hebert later wrote in glowing terms of the travels which Fast and his companion Neufeld undertook at the risk of their own lives.
They braved the wilds of Siberia, the interrupted transportation systems, frequent raids by robber bands, and the cold of the Northland through 9 days of travel to Omsk, Siberia.
Other hurdles Fast overcame are described at length in his memoir.
These included a 5-week delay as his shipment of clothing was cleared through customs,
the theft of his passport,
a 4,260-mile journey to his destination, Omsk,
his escape from death as one of the settlements he was working in had an outbreak of typhus,
and a potentially detrimental confrontation with a Soviet officer who forced him to turn back and find different means of transportation.
Finally, Fast finished distributing over $40,000 worth of supplies.
Supplies which only a few months earlier he had rejoiced that he could welcome into Russia after so many in America had prayed for their safe delivery.
Immediately on his return from Russia, Fast began touring the U.S., describing with what Hebert recalls as graphic words the details of his eventful mission.
These efforts played a role in the formation of the Mennonite Central Committee,
which would work to alleviate pain and suffering and hunger in Ukraine and around the world.
We can thus see how significant Fast's mission really was.
But wait! There's more!
Fast wasn't just a random hero.
He's our great-great-great-grandfather.
That's right. M.B. Fast's grandson married this lovely woman, Verna Enns. M.B. Fast may be legendary, but his story is not a legend.